Okay, so here's the threshold. This is kind of a graphical representation, at least how I think of a threshold knob, okay? So let's just say that our peak audio signal in this kind of fictitious waveform. This is a waveform of audio. So this is the plus side of the waveform. This is the minus side down here. So think if you bisect this waveform, we've got a plus and a minus side, but this is what audio looks like. If you speak into a microphone, it looks very similar to this. So here's a peak, right? And let's say that it's resting at about -12 on your meter. Okay, so this is on your Yamaha console. It's bumping at about -12, right? Well, what a threshold does is of a compressor is we can turn it down. The further we turn the knob counterclockwise, so down, the more effective the compressor gets. So it's a little bit counterintuitive versus other things that we see on the console. Everything else, the more we turn it up, the more it's effect. It takes effect. On a compressor, it's opposite. If you want to have a compressor sitting there doing nothing and ready to just grab and go, turn that threshold all the way up, all the way clockwise, and it won't be doing anything in that scenario. So we turn that knob down to, let's say, -20. And what happens is this kind of white shaded area here, that's the difference between -20 and -12. That's where the compressor is going to kick in and start to attenuate and start to soften those peaks. So that compressor is going to make those peaks it's going to round off the top of them. And it really depends on the next control, how aggressively or not aggressively it rounds those peaks off. And Bill, in the next slide, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about your bass player in your church and how a compressor could also help in your situation. But let's think about this for a second. And this is the essence. You can start to visualize why we have a makeup gain on that compressor. Well, I'm not doing anything with gain, am I? Well, that compressor is rounding off those peaks. And so now the peaks may be down here. If we're somewhat aggressive, the peaks could now be down at like let's say 15 or -16 even, right? So now we've effectively taken 4 dB, 4 decibels of gain out of that signal. So now it's not, after we are done compressing, it's not hitting -12 anymore like it was before. Now it's hitting more like a -15, let's say. And so we can take that makeup gain and turn the signal back up to where it consistently on the output reads -12. Okay. So I'll try to demonstrate that on that app again before we're done, if I have time, to show you where to look for that input versus output gain. But there are 2 meters on your console. One is the input gain. The input gain is still going to show you that it's -12 peaks. It's still going, it doesn't matter how much you obliterate it on the compressor, it's still getting the input as per usual. But that output is going to start to come down, and it's going to be less than the input meter. And that's where that makeup gain comes into play. And you bring that makeup gain meter up to where the peaks match the peaks that are present on the input. Okay, so let's take a look at the ratio.